For most of film history, women haven't been people. They've been functions, symbols, or plot devices. In early German film especially, women showed up on the screen, not as fully developed characters, but as mirrors that reflected whatever emotional crisis the male protagonist was dealing with. Women were either dangerous, erotic fantasy objects, or they were in post-World War II German home films, where women existed to patch up the wounded masculinity of the nation. As historian Heidi Ferhrenbach puts it in her book, Cinema in Democratizing Germany, Reconstructing the National Identity After Hitler, women helped heal Germany's broken post-war identity. Even in the early era of New German cinema, which was a radical political movement, it was still dominated by men. Directors like Fassbinder, Werners, and Herzog created female characters that were interesting, yes, but ultimately satellites orbiting male angst. But then Margarethe von Trotta moved from in front of the camera to behind, and everything changed. Von Trotta came up through the industry as an actress, playing the tropes she later fought against. She once explained in an interview with Nicholas Rappold that the roles she got never mattered to her, as she wanted to be a filmmaker herself, but it was absolutely impossible for women to even think of that, leaving her with the option of acting. Once she stepped foot into the world of directing and writing, she ended up creating a distinctly feminist counter-cinema built on 3 principles: politics, identity, and sisterhood. These concepts didn't just guide her films, they completely reshaped how women could exist on screen. Let's start with Marianne and Juliane from 1981. The film follows 2 sisters inspired by the real-life Ensslin sisters, one a radical leftist involved in the Red Army faction, the other a journalist. What's groundbreaking here is that von Trotta refuses to frame the political narrative of the film, explaining that if this person lives in a certain time surrounded by political facts, then it comes into the film. The state, ideology, and the personal conflicts between these women, that is the narrative. In a tense prison scene, Juliane and Marianne face each other through a sheet of glass. It's not just a barrier. It's a literal representation of political divide, state power, and emotional rupture. No male interpreter stands between them, handing the political story back to the women who lived it. Von Trotta does this again in Rosa Luxemburg from 1986. Most biopics about the female political figures soften them, romanticize them, and sentimentalizes them. But von Trotta centers Luxemburg's speeches, her writings, and her ideological debates. The film says, a woman can be the intellectual force of history, no apology, and no simplification. Another defining part of von Trotta's work is her emphasis on women's interior lives. These characters aren't symbols, they're psychologically complex. In Marianne and Juliane, Juliane's grief after Marianne's death isn't just personal, it becomes political anger. There's a heartbreaking scene where Juliane sorts through her sister's belongings, letters, toys, and photographs. These ordinary objects reveal a fractured identity shaped by radical ideology and state violence. In Rosenstrasse from 2003, identity expands across generations. The film reconstructs the 1943 protests where non-Jewish German women demanded the release of their Jewish husbands. Their identity as wives transforms into something much bigger, a moral and political stance against Nazism. Von Trotta highlights the political capacities of women whose actions have been historically minimized. If Von Trotta has a signature theme, it's this: women in relationship with each other are powerful. Whether it's literal sisters like Juliane and Marianne, political comrades in Rosa Luxemburg, the collective protesters in Rosenstrasse, von Trotta insists that female connection, not romance, not male attention, is what drives these stories forward. One of the most devastating images of Marianne and Juliane comes at the end. Juliane places her hand on the glass, separating her from Marianne's corpse. Earlier in the film, they were separated by glass during a prison visit. Now, the barrier is permanent. It's a visual echo of their ideological divide, their love, and their grief. Film scholar Erica Carter adds, one facet of von Trotta's intervention into a visual culture dominated by masculine vision is thus her creation of a cinematic vocabulary for the expression of woman-to-woman private and public desires. Von Trotta's work didn't just add more women into film. She changed the way women could be seen in film. She proved that women can be political subjects, intellectuals, moral thinkers, revolutionaries, and the emotional core of historical memory. Her influence spread across Germany and into global cinema, inspiring filmmakers like Jane Campion and Sally Potter. To paraphrase Judith Mayne's book, The Woman at the Keyhole, Feminism in Women's Cinema, in Von Trotta's films, women are subjects who confront and shape the world, and that shift from object to subject is one of the most important evolutions in the history of women's representation on the screen. Von Trotta didn't just make films about women. She made films that gave women the power to define history itself.